Humans have always been afraid of those classed as insane. I bet most of you watching naturally will be too. Because of this, we've often deposited these insane people in mental hospitals and have done for over 700 years. Bethlehem Hospital, built all the way back in 1247, was the first of its kind. It was initially used to heal sick paupers, but became one of the cruelest mental hospitals the world was to ever see, admitting many patients for reasons we would not admit someone for today. Hence why the building is often associated with nightmares and horror films. But one patient sent to the hospital managed to not only cause controversy locally, but became hated by the entire nation, all the way back in 1865. For his case was far from normal, and the consequences diabolical. In fact, this patient caused laws to be changed following his admittance, not just in the UK, but all around the world. And these laws are still used in places like the US today. This is the man so insane that the law could not give the case justice. Daniel McNaughton was born around 1813, likely in Glasgow, Scotland. The early information about his life is honestly a little bit of a mystery, however we do know a fair bit following his trial and arrest. McNaughton was the illegitimate son of a woodturner and a landlord in Glasgow, but despite the illegitimacy, his mother, Ada, loved him dearly. Unfortunately, she was to die when Daniel was only a mere boy, and he was sent to live with his father's family. Now, things didn't exactly improve for McNaughton. During living with his father, he sought to become an apprentice at woodworking. This initially was successful. Daniel soon became a journeyman at his father's workshop in Stockwell Street, Glasgow. Though overnight, this died. His father would not offer him an apprenticeship, so McNaughton simply left the business, becoming an actor. This new career lasted around 3 years, but this wasn't working either. McNaughton eventually returned to Glasgow in 1835 and decided to begin his own wood-turning workshop. He maintained this for the next 5 years. It generated money, and lots of it. Even though he lived frugally, he did well. With his money, he attended the Glasgow Mechanics Institute and the Athenaeum Debating Society. He also read a lot, learned French, and exercised. But a few around him began to notice a difference. For McNaughton was becoming increasingly politically radical, even employing the chartist Abram Duncan at the workshop. Soon he sold his business and moved to London with the occasional trip to France. Nevertheless, his radicalisation did not stop. He returned to Glasgow in 1841 and complained to many people, even his father, about that he felt he was being persecuted by the Tories and followed their spies, yet no one took him seriously. No one helped him when he was clearly struggling, and one day his beliefs went too far. It's now January 1843, and McNaughton has spent the last 2 years fully believing the Tories are out to get him. A few days before January 20th, and McNaughton is now reported in London, with many citizens noticing him acting suspiciously in Whitehall. Only now do we know why. McNaughton was going to kill the Prime Minister, Sir Robert Peel, and come January 20th, he was following him from Charing Cross to Downing Street. Suddenly, McNaughton fires a pistol into the back of the Tory he was following, but when the man falls to the ground, it's not the face of the Prime Minister, for it was his secretary, Edward Drummond. Whilst McNaughton still believed the Prime Minister was dead, he was soon apprehended by the police and locked away. Drummond died 5 days later. Great debate still exists over if McNaughton was responsible for the direct death, as before the surgeons tried leeching, he was making an excellent recovery. Nevertheless, the trial took place on March the 2nd and 3rd. When he was asked to plead guilty, or even not guilty, McNaughton responded that he was driven to desperation by persecution. His barrister, Alexander Cockburn, also one of the best at the time, pushed for not guilty on the grounds of insanity, as the law at the time held those insane exempt from legal responsibility and legal punishment. Cockburn further argued that McNaughton's delusions had led to a breakdown of moral sense and loss of self-control, which according to medical experts, left him in a state of no longer being reasonable and responsible being. The prosecutors could find no one to testify otherwise, so McNaughton was indeed found not guilty and sent to live at Bethlehem Asylum. But this acquittal caused public outcry. People wanted him punished for the murder. The general public, so livid, pushed for the English judiciary to develop the McNaughton rules for judging insanity. This new rule basically meant that on a trial, every man is presumed to be sane. Only when strict evidence is present of a disease of the mind, resulting in not understanding the quality of the action being performed, is when insanity can be called upon. America still uses these laws to this day. McNaughton's time at Bethlehem Asylum was rather uneventful, despite the entire law changing because of him. His admission papers described him as imagines the Tories are his enemies, shy and retiring in his manner. The only notable thing he did in 21 years was one hunger strike, which ended with force feeding. He painted, he drew and he knitted, with a bit of carpentry work for the hospital. In 1864, McNaughton was transferred to Broadmoor Asylum. Here he was referred to as intelligent, but following his time at Bedlam, he developed many health problems, including diabetes, eventually succumbing to the illness on the 3rd of May, 1865. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. It's free and it really helps me out. See you next time.